of Management Studies, IGNOU presents an audiobook on the course Mmpc 017 Advanced Strategic Management for MBA program. Presenting Block 3 International Strategy, Unit 8 Entry into the International Markets.
Unit 8 Entry into the International Markets. Objectives. After studying this unit, you should be able to understand the complications of international trade, understand the methods of entry into international trade, identify a suitable international trade entering method for a firm based on certain parameters suggested, and discuss the role of government in establishing trade policy and providing the environment that restrict and support international trade. Introduction. A growing business wants to look for potential market and explore new markets, locate supporting resources and supplies of raw materials and labor, raise required capital, explore availability of skilled manpower and hire personnel, develop a marketing plan, establish distribution channel, and identify retail outlets. Management must establish controls and feedback systems as well as accounting, finance, and personal functions as an overlay upon this comprehensive system. Budding international business firm is not only contented with establishing an international element to add to domestic operations, but also understands the fact that international business has a significant involvement of environmental factors that differ from their own in all aspects: cultures, economies, government policies, and political systems. Business enterprises need huge investments of time, energy, and personnel at domestic level, and venturing into international boundaries intensifies the number of steps essential at the firm's length and breadth and its reach, effort, and activity. Each establishment in international business requires international components and separate and discrete units. It is more likely that domestic firm enters foreign market in a progressive way, beginning with exporting, which is less risky and needs less foreign investment. Subsequently, the firm, once it gets confident with the business opportunities in the foreign country, slowly increase its investments with new and extended forms of foreign investments like franchising, joint venture direct investment, etc. Prior to taking decisions on international business, the firm must evaluate its resources like personnel, assets, experience in overseas markets, and the suitability and demand for the product in those markets. A firm must also evaluate the level of control necessary to manage overseas operations. These must be reviewed in the light of competition expected in markets abroad and availability of business opportunities created by international operations. Entry strategies. There are various entry strategies through which the firms can enter international trade. These are: first, export-based entry. Exporting is a very popular and beginner's method of internationalization and international trade. It requires low amount of a firm's involvement in terms of the needs of firm's allocation of resources to serve overseas market. In this method, firm uses its domestic market for production, distribution, and administration, and a portion of the produce is marketed abroad. In other words, the producer produces the goods in home country and through various modes of transport, that is, air, ship, rail, truck, and pipelines laid across the border, sells it to the other countries. For initiating this method of foreign trade, a firm looks for an opportunity for the products and services abroad and decides to be either a direct or indirect exporter. Direct exporting means a producer or supplier directly sells goods and services in an international market through a directly managed channel, which is distributors, foreign retailers, and other intermediaries, sales representatives, or directly selling to the end user. Indirect exporting. Indirect exporting means selling of the product to an intermediary, usually a third party, who in turn sells either to customers or sells it to importing wholesalers. The easiest and low risk and effort method of indirect exporting is to sell products to an intermediary in the home country, and that intermediary specializes in exports, thus takes the responsibility of selling the produce in the foreign countries. This method relieves the producer from the hassles of internationalization, especially payments and logistics. The problems or disadvantages can be addressed by, first, establishing direct exporting capability by establishing a sales firm within the foreign market to handle the technical aspects of export trading and keep abreast of market developments, demand, and competition. Second, firms may choose to expand their operations in foreign countries to include other forms of investments. Now, second, non-equity based entry. Licensing. Licensing is a method of internationalizing through which a firm licensee gets from the licensor some type of intangible rights, which could be rights to a process, patent, program, trademark, copyright, or expertise. Franchising. Franchising is similar to licensing, but in franchising, other than granting permission to use the name, trademark, and process of the franchisor, the franchisee also gets assistance with the operations or supply of raw materials from the franchisor. In this agreement between franchisor and the franchisee, there is a larger degree of control when compared to licensing agreements. The franchisee pays an initial fee and a proportion of share of profit to the franchising firm. This method works on the mutual understanding of profit sharing between the franchisee and franchisor. The franchising contract should be carefully designed and provide recourse for the franchising firm, clearly indicating the legal course of action if the franchisee does not comply with the terms and conditions of the agreement. Contract manufacturing. Contract manufacturing is also one of the methods firms use to enter into the foreign country. As part of this contract, MNC firms enter into contracts with local firms to provide manufacturing services. This arrangement is akin to vertical integration with the firms. MNC subcontract the production instead of establishing its own production locations. MNC sometimes enters into a full production contract with the local plant which produces goods to be sold under the name of the original manufacturer, and another method of entering into such contracts is by providing partial manufacturing services, for example, assembly work or production of spare parts. Management contracts. Management contracts are methods in which firm agrees to rent its expertise or know-how to government or firm in the form of personnel who enter the foreign environment and run the concern. This method of involvement in foreign markets is used with a new business facility after expropriation of a concern by a national government or when an operation is in trouble. Management contracts frequently used in concern with turnkey operations. Under these agreements, firms provide services of overseeing all details in the startup facilities, including design, construction, and operation. These projects are large-scale projects, for instance, production plants or utility constructions. The problems faced by the turnkey contracts is often the time period or duration of the contract, yielding long payout schedules and carries greater risk of foreign exchange fluctuation. Direct investment. Direct investment means a firm investing directly through real commitment of resources like capital and personnel and assets in the foreign land beyond domestic borders. This investment provides greater control of cost and operations and improves profitability. The only factor of risk in such investment is the business environment factors prevailing in the foreign land. Direct investment as an international activity runs a continuum from joint ventures to wholly owned subsidiary. These methods are high in terms of rewards and also high in terms of risks involved. Multinational firms prefer to make direct investment because of the following reasons. A. To gain access to enlarged market. B. To take advantage of cost differentials arising from cheaper sources of factors of production, that is land, labor and capital available in the foreign market. These reasons help in increasing the profitability of the firm. C. To counter strategic moves of the competitors or to follow a market leader in new markets. Strategic alliances or joint ventures. Joint ventures are also strategic alliances in which two or more firms or entities join together to establish some sort of business operations. Strategic alliances may be formed by two partners. It can be between two MNCs, one MNC and a local business person, or MNC and government. If there are two or more participants in the deal, the relationship can also be called as consortium operation. Parties in the joint venture contribute equity, capital, or assets. Percentage of ownership depends on the contribution of the capital. Some countries stipulate the relative amount of ownership allowable to foreign firms in joint ventures. A complete control over operations, decision making, and profits can only be established by wholly owned subsidiary on the foreign soil. Wholly owned subsidiaries. A firm retains total control of its marketing, pricing, production, decision, and can maintain greater security over its technological assets by establishing its own foreign arm. Firm is also entitled for cent% profits generated by the enterprise but also bears all the risks involved in the business like expropriation limits on profits being repatriated and locally operating government policies, rules and regulations. In establishing and entering into a new international market, the firm can choose one of the routes explained below. First, acquiring an ongoing operation. Second, start a completely new firm from the scratch, greenfield strategy. This method can be used if no suitable facilities are found to be acquired or if the firm has special requirements of facilities. Third, buying a new firm known brownfield strategy, having the advantage of avoiding startup costs of capital and time lag and is often faster and easier to at local levels and is cheaper than building a new firm from the scratch. Buying also has the advantages of not adding to a country's existing capacity and improving goodwill with the host country nationals. Globalized operations. Consumers around the world are increasingly similar in their goals and requirements of product attributes and products, resulting in the world moving towards a global market with standardized products across countries in all cultures. Increasing demand for the products result in low cost of manufacture as an outcome of economies of scale. Such firms are characterized by globalized operations as distinct from multinational firms with globalized operations are capable of taking business opportunities across the world and constrained to specific sectors, for example, Pepsi Company, Coca-Cola, and Levi Strauss, etc., ranging from consumer goods to fast food. Portfolio investments. Portfolio investments do not need the physical presence of a firm's personnel or products in a foreign country. These investments can be in the form of securities, notes, bonds, commercial paper, and non-controlling stock, certificates of deposits or investments through foreign bank accounts or lending through foreign bank loans. Investors invest in foreign economies to achieve higher rates of return, avoid political risk in the home country, or speculate in the foreign exchange market. Consortia, Keiretsu, and Chaebol. Consortia is a business strategy to create a sizable interlocking relationships between firms in an industry. This strategy enhances the competitive advantage of the firms in understanding. Keiretsu is a coalition of many firms controlled by a dominant central firm aimed at minimizing the competitive risk through cost sharing and economies of scale. chaebol is largely applicable to Korean consortia financed by government in order to gain competitive and strategic benefits. Government involvement in trade restrictions and incentives. Governments in most of the countries do restrict or support international trade or transfer of resources to foreign countries. Intervention of this kind may take the form of controlling the flow of trade and transfer of goods, and also there may be a control on the transfer of capital flows or controlling the movement of personnel and technology. Rationale for intervention may vary from country to country and government to government and fall into several patterns. Government is motivated by economic situation and interests of the people, such as revenue, currency rates, economic and monetary considerations, along with geographic and demographic competencies levels of the country are the major factors which contribute to policies of various countries on foreign trade. Specific concerns in the country like health and safety considerations or full employment objectives also play an important role in the foreign trade policy. The list of interventions is given below. Protectionism refers to government intervention in order to protect some specific industries in the economy, but protectionism needs to be interpreted as protecting inefficient and incompetent industries which are not competitive in foreign market. Instead, the industry should make structural changes to enhance its efficiency. Rationale for this intervention is A. Protect industry to ensure full employment opportunity imports and relying more on domestic production, which results in creation of jobs. B. Protect infant industry pertinent in underdeveloped and less developed economies and justifying this protection stating that infant industries cannot compete with established large industries, thus they need some protection. C. Protecting specific industries is a part of the government's industrial policy decision in order to promote specific sectors in the economy for diversifying the economic structure. Protection is usually given to the sectors which are beneficial for the economy, earn foreign exchange, and yield higher marginal returns. D. Rationale of protectionism is more based on emotional arguments than economic. Protectionism leads to higher prices for consumer for imported products and components and may lead to retaliation by importing countries and affect the exports of the country. It may result in increased opportunity cost by allocating the resources of a country inappropriately at the expense of other sectors. Method of government intervention. A. Application of tariffs to exports or imports. B. Application of non-tariff barriers. Tariffs. Tariffs or duties are a basic method of governmental intervention in trade used to protect industries by increasing the price of imports in order to make imported products costlier than the domestic products. Tariffs may be placed on exports as well as imports in the form of duties and are most typical control mechanism on international trade. Tariffs are assessed in three different ways. Ad valorem duties, which is levied as percentage on the value of goods. Specific duties assessed on the physical unit of measurement, for example, duties imposed per ton metric or any such fixed unit. Compound tariff, it is a combination of ad valorem and specific duties. Non-tariff barriers. Non-tariff barriers are a matter of concern and controversial topic in trade activity over the past decade because they are not traditional method of discouraging imports through the application of duties. They work towards reducing the pace of flow of goods into a country by enhancing physical and administration difficulties. Non-trade barriers take numbers of forms that provide effective trade restraints. Discrimination by government against foreign suppliers in bidding procedures, rigorous customs and country entry procedures, excessive and severe laid down standard inspection procedure, elaborate safety specifications and domestic testing requirements, laid down required percentages of domestic material content. Some countries tend to restrict and regulate products which they feel is harmful to the citizens of the country. For example, Canada has a strict entry restrictions for tobacco products onto the country. India's policy does not easily permit alcohol manufacturing and high import duties on some specific luxury goods like automobiles. Quotas. Countries impose quotas to restrict quality, volume, or value based imports. These quotas may be unilateral according to the commodity, and a stipulated amount of aggregate import is permitted from any source or country. Alternatively, the government of a country may decide and be selective on regional basis. A type of quota is an embargo, which prohibits all types of trade between countries, and voluntary entry restriction is another type encountered in recent trade history, in which countries agree to restrict their exports to a country but are forced into compliance through the use of direct or subtle political pressure from major trading partners. Imposition of quotas is to restrict inflow of certain commodities into the country, which often leads to higher import prices. Summary. Basic functional and operational activities in international business are same as domestic business. The difference is across boundaries operations encounters different economies, cultures, legal systems, governments, and languages, which must be integrated into business policies and practices. Entry and expansion of a firm may necessitate entry into international trade. Entry into international business varies among continuum, ranging from basic entry levels like exporting to the rest like licensing, franchising, contract manufacturing, direct investment, joint ventures, wholly owned subsidiaries, globalized operations, and portfolio investments in a continuum. Some countries have low risk and give lots of support to international enterprises, and others have dismal interest and policy support. Governments in the host country play a crucial role in deciding either to restrict or support international business. Often, international business policy of a government is in alignment with monetary and economic goal, along with maintenance of national security, improve health, safety and development level, or support specific political objectives. Protectionism, tariffs, non-tariff barriers, and government interventions are the methods of restricting international trade.
You were listening to the audiobook by the School of Management Studies IGNOU for MBA program. Course code Mmpc 016 International Business Management. Course Coordinator Professor G. Subayama. Voiceover by Chitra. Edited by Savita. Program assisted by Tarannum Jahan and Jagbandhu Jana. Program produced by Dr. Manoj Kumar Singh. This program was brought to you by Electronic Media Production Center of Indira Gandhi National Open University.